10 Steps Further is a podcast designed to help you get 10 steps further along your spiritual journey. If you've been on your journey for 30 years or 30 minutes, if you believe in God, or even if you're not sure He exists, all we're trying to do is help you get 10 steps further. I'm Jonathan, and this is Jack, and we're just taking a walk. Why don't you join us? We're just going to roll then?
We're rolling right now.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to
So do your job.
Welcome back to 10 Steps Further. We are happy that you are listening once again. Hey, remember, we are now on YouTube as well. So if you want to see us, we
all just wave to you.
And it will, over time, maybe get better, but we just wanted to be on YouTube, so we're just doing what we can. We are joined by Stephen Luke. He's been on, what, 2 times, 3 times?
This is the third time.
Third time. He's a
third time's a charm.
Third
right here.
Third time is like where you become
like
you're a regular at that point.
Right. A friend of the show.
Yeah, there you go. He's been on because he's our voice in San Diego pretty much. He's most of what we've talked about has been news related, a newscaster.
Yeah.
What is your title?
I am a reporter anchor.
Reporter anchor.
Yep.
So he's out and about with a camera capturing what's going on. Currently, everything having to do with coronavirus.
You're a weekend anchor, correct?
Weekend mornings. Yep.
Weekend mornings, and then during the week
I'm out and about doing different stories.
Okay, so this is the question we were starting to talk about, and I said, we'll just wait. What would you say is a general stereotype of anchor people? Like, what would be the negative stereotype of an anchor person?
Well, I mean, you could just go physical characteristics with the guys, right? Like, just the great hair.
Right.
The chiseled chin.
Right.
Of which, if anyone who knows me knows I don't fit any of those.
Well, and he used to come to Canyon Springs and move to the L.A. market.
Yeah.
We had a guy like that, and he's amazing, too.
Yep. We're friends on Facebook. I see what he's up to now.
We'll say his name, Dan Cohen. Hope you're doing good, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
But like you can't go for the same girl as Dan Cohen. Dan Cohen is great looking. You might have a chance against Steve Luke.
You know what? But I think we all outkicked our coverage, right, when it came to our wives, right? And
absolutely.
So as we found out, for women, it has very little to do with what you look like, which is amazing. I wish I had known that in college. It's all about confidence and how you make them feel.
Yes, that is so true.
Isn't it?
Okay,
amazing?
so give me the. Okay, so that's the looks.
Okay.
What about like the personality of an anchor? What would you say would be the negative of that?
The negative stereotype,
right?
Well, I would think that maybe it's the serious. I know everything kind of an attitude. I don't know. The anchors I know, and I'm probably the worst person to ask about this because they're such real, genuine people.
Right.
I mean, especially at my station, they're really easy to get. So I don't know.
So that was.
What's yours? I should ask you what yours is because that would probably be more valuable.
Probably
Stereotype for a pastor, or how Jack observes.
No,
news
what do you
anchors.
think about?
I think is you look at an anchor, you're getting somebody who's a professional, who's telling you the truth, but it's all done in a very there can feel a little plastic to that, but. Here's why I'm saying it, because I never get that from you. I never get that from you on the air, and that's true of Monica, too. Monica is just being Monica. Like, if you ever met Monica on the street, she is that same person as an anchor. And that's what I really loved also about Dan, but I really think that you just personify that, man. Like, when we're in conversation or I'm watching you on the news, it's done in a very professional way, but there's a realness to it. I'm not sure everybody has.
Yeah, and I mean, when they bring the consultants in, they will tell you that 100% you have to be authentic because that comes through so easily on the camera. And the problem for me in this business is I'm pretty relaxed and easygoing, and I'm also the guy when I watch like a crime show and they're taking you back and forth between did this happen or like a Law and Order, depending on who's up taking the stand, do you believe him or not? I go back and forth. I go, oh, yeah, that's for sure. Oh, no,
Right.
I'm so like I can just go either way until I get all the facts around me. And so my wife will just take a stand one way or the other at the beginning. She'll be like, nope, this is how I think. And you're going to have to work really hard to get me to the other side, right. Where I feel like a lot of times I'm in the middle
just
long time.
Very open-minded.
Yeah, sometimes too long.
Yeah.
You know?
Is that common with news anchors? Or is it more so like some of them? Because it would seem that when you get to the world news type stuff, like you get to the highest level, these guys got a lot of opinion that's being inserted. It's not open-mindedness. It's a lot.
You mean the politics of TV
the politics
news?
of media and anchors.
Yeah.
And like when you get to that level, it just seems like I don't feel like these people are open-minded at all. Like.
Yeah, and I mean, I think anyone would say that it's gotten more and more that way with especially cable organizations that cater to a certain audience. Mm-hmm. And I mean, you asked me what people think about the media. It's interesting because depending upon their experience with a reporter or with the media, right. I mean, we're like lawyers. A lot of times people,
that's the impression.
I mean, there are some people that just don't like or trust people in the media, and that's
right.
fair given their life experience. And then there's people who maybe a reporter has done a story that's really gotten to the truth and took them from being a victim to being able to overcome that or helping them. We do that stuff all the time locally, and you're up on a pedestal that's way higher than maybe personally I think they should be putting you. So I don't know. I would just say in general, people say the media.
Yeah.
Right.
And you hear that, right? Oh, the media, especially during this pandemic, the media this. And the media is giant. I mean, what are you even talking about when you say the media?
Well, we get that too, as pastors.
Sure.
Yeah.
That this is what a pastor is like. And I have to do a lot of rallying with some people to get them to the place where they realize that I'm just a regular person. I mean, I have to swear a lot in front of them. I'm kidding, of course. So Stephen did a segment for us. I'm going to go back and forth between Stephen and Steve because on the news, you're Stephen, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. But we're going to call him Steve because
you can call me whatever. I don't care.
He did a segment for us at our church, and we'll make sure we repost this because it's amazing of all the good that he has seen coming out of this coronavirus. I literally watched that within 1 minute. I was on the phone with you telling you because there are tears streaming down my face as I watch that. It's impressive. And so we'll put that up on our show notes too so that you guys can see that. And so we're going to get to that place where I want you to tell us what you're seeing good coming out of this. Mm-hmm. But we're going to start here, all right? Very common verses that we're kind of work our way through the three of us. Okay, Romans 8 says this. If you know anything about Romans 8, there are a lot of commentators that said if they were stranded on a desert island, they would have and only had one chapter, this would be the chapter. This is one of the most foundational in the entire Bible. This is how you know it's pastors, because if you're stranded on a desert island, the question isn't usually what Bible verse.
What would you bring? I would bring Romans 8. I'd bring a canoe.
How about a sat phone?
Right.
In the same way, the Spirit helps us in our weaknesses. We don't know what we ought to pray for, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us through wordless groans. And he who searches our hearts knows the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for God's people in accordance to the will of God. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Okay, I want to ask you some questions just to work through this one step at a time. It says that he helps us in our weaknesses. Okay, so what makes the list, guys? Your weaknesses. What weakness are you willing to tell everybody right now?
Man, is it time to go already? Anyway, guys, this was fun.
Next time on Tinsley. Yeah. Oh, man.
You know what? I wrote it down. I've been trying to journal more in this season that we are in, because I thought that might be valuable.
Sure.
I've done that in the past, and I have failed. And I go into my journal and I think I'm doing a good job, and I'll look and see the date that I last did it. And it's like, wow, that was a week and a half ago. Here I am trying to be super consistent, and so I would just say a lack of faithfulness sometimes is a big one. And I living with a wife who can be very disciplined. Sometimes I just feel like I'm not as disciplined and stuff.
Yeah, you feel less than in those moments, right?
You know?
Yeah. Well, Jody, man, she's on top of everything, so that would be difficult.
Yeah, I think of journaling as being like I have a journal. I just got a new one, and I'll typically get a sketchbook because I can't journal with lines for some reason. But the one that I just finished a couple months ago, the first time that I wrote into it was 2011. So it took me 9 years to complete one.
That's funny. So this is,
but you're going in the right direction.
As you are all listening, hoping that we're going to share these big weaknesses. Our big weakness so far is we can't journal very well.
Well, and I would go into, I mean, it's interesting because like you look at, the Lord helps us in our weaknesses, and I would say every area that might from the outside look like strength is because the Lord helps us in our weaknesses. And so people, I think, will look at my family, and they'll look at my kids, and they'll look at my wife, and they'll look at, like, wow, you must be an amazing husband, an amazing dad. Nope, like, not better than anybody else I know. I just, for whatever reason, God has helped me in, like, not knowing what I was doing. And we're 20 years into this marriage thing, and I'm 18 years old into this parenting thing, and things didn't fall apart is unbelievable to me.
Well, that's what this is talking about, right? Like God helps us. He fills in the gaps.
Yep.
For the things that we're just not that good at.
Right.
So I went away for this weekend, and I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. And for Mother's Day, I'd driven past this Chinese place. Should I even say it? Like the actual name of this place, because it was a very negative experience. It's a national chain.
Just drive right by it.
Right. Yeah. And I thought, let's go there because I have a hankering for Chinese food, right?
Okay.
So I ordered online, and then I looked up where I had ordered, and instead of ordering at the place that was a mile from my house, it was the place that was 17 miles.
Okay.
So I called them up because you say, well, if you make a mistake, it has the number. I called them up.
Yeah.
And I counted 15 busy signals.
Wow.
I called over and over and over. So I realized I got to go anyway. So I'm angry, and I get in the car. I got my family all around. It's Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, I'm in Phoenix, so I haven't seen my kids in a while, and I got to take an hour to go get this Chinese food. And I went and I asked the person, says, hey, are you guys just not answering your phone? She says, well, we're really busy, so yeah, we just took it off the hook. That's your answer? And then I get back and I say, here's your food. I hope you enjoy your Chinese food. And it was wrong. They shorted us and charged us for it. Oh, anger and impatience in that moment. It did not look good on me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I two things, because you're right. Lack of journaling is not what's is not. But one of my favorite memes that I've seen is the coffee cup handing the baton to the bourbon in this season. So I'll say just surface level.
Yeah.
And then the other one is we've been playing a lot of this game called Catan, which is a great board game. You guys heard of that one? If your families, you might get it if you're looking for a new game and you've never played it. And we love it. Mm-hmm. And my son was playing, and he's the one in the family who doesn't really like it as much, so he'll grace us with his presence when we beg him on Sundays after church or something. And he was just being such a piece of work during this game. And it was one of those things where we're like, can you, as parents, just this once rise up? We work, we do all this stuff for you. All we want is for an hour for you guys to just play this game and not bicker and fight and be pieces of work. And I lost it at one point with him because he knows how to just keep going, he knows how to
access to that button.
He's got some of my genes in him, and he does have, and he can do it more than anyone. And so I just lost it, and as a dad, which was not great. And I said, Tyler, give me a break. You are almost 14 years old. And my daughter kind of laughed and she goes, "Dad, he is 15." Or he is 14. He is 14. And so, and it kind of hurt his feelings. And he was like, "You don't even know how old I am." I said, "I know how old you are. I'm just so bad I can't talk."
Oh, that's awesome.
Great dad moment.
So God helps us in our weaknesses, right? Somehow he fills in the gaps. I could certainly see that in parenting. That's what I tell parents all the time. Like you think, man, I'm gonna raise my kid and I'm gonna make sure they play soccer and I'm gonna be on the soccer team. The soccer team will fill in the gaps. No, it won't. Get your kid in youth group because God will fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Keep going. It says we don't even know how to pray. So it says he searches our hearts. He knows the mind of the Spirit because God intercedes for God's people. All right. Even when we don't have any idea what to pray.
Right.
And I feel like oftentimes that's me. Like, I don't even know what's best for me.
Right. Yeah.
That's it. That's all I'm getting from you guys.
That's all I got.
Yeah. Well, there's some comfort in that, right?
Right.
Too. I mean, that it's not necessarily about what you're praying for, but I guess if I'm reading what you're saying right, that it's just the act of getting your mind focused on God and having that prayerful conversation, even if it's
right
groans.
Right. What I think he's trying to say in this segment is, look, you don't even know the best thing to pray for you.
Right.
Right. Like I remember Ruth Graham Bell. She married Billy Graham, right? And she said, if God answered all my prayers, I would have married the wrong man. Mm-hmm. Several times.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I think one of the things that is a bit comforting about it is I think a lot of people are afraid that they're going to pray for the wrong stuff. Like we have this whole, whether it's kind of prosperity gospel type stuff out there that people are afraid to go to God with what they actually want to pray about or ask him for because they're just there's this judgment of God doesn't want to hear about your desire, or he doesn't want to, and there's something I feel like comforting about knowing that there's this relationship with God that when we come to him, we present whatever's in our heart, and he's still going to direct us and lead us to pray rightly and to give us what it is that we need. Like I've it's like the proverbial Ferrari, praying for the Ferrari. Like I'm just like, man, pray for the Ferrari. Like if that's what gets you to go to God over and over and over again, maybe you'll get a Ferrari out of it, but maybe you won't. Maybe you'll just get direction to like, why do I want a Ferrari? Mm-hmm. But most people there's almost this like judgment about asking for abundance, asking for the thing that's actually in your heart. And I've met plenty of Christians that are like this. They have this spiritual like. Almost like I'm more spiritual than everybody else because I will never pray for anything for myself.
Right.
And it's like, well, you're probably missing out on a lot of great stuff. You probably just don't have it because you're not asking for it.
Right.
So I think he just kind of directs us that way.
Is it more comforting knowing that God will answer your prayers in a way that is best for you? Or is it more of a cop-out? Like it can be one of those two things, right? Like I can be comforted knowing that I can pray for whatever. I don't even know what to pray for sometimes, and God's going to answer in a way that he wants to answer.
Right.
And that can be great because he knows better for me.
Yeah.
But it can also feel very, very much like a cop-out. Like, yeah, the Christian person said, yeah, pray God. You can go to God with anything. Of course, he probably won't answer it.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, and I've struggled with that because one of the problems that I get to when I really think about why I'm praying for stuff and why not is that I'm afraid the answer will be no. And I can see no reason on earth that the answer should be no for this prayer. Right? I mean, if a family member's in the hospital,
right,
or it's an X-ray or an MRI on a loved one, God, like come through for me here, right? I'm on my knees, and that does not feel good when that prayer is not answered on the big stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I've struggled with that is it a cop-out? Do we give, when it happens and whatever, we give God all the glory, but when it doesn't, we say it's not in his timing. And that can feel like a cop-out. And for me, I've just had to go back to the sort of starting point where God is good. And if I believe that God is good, it's not a cop-out. It's just fact. It just is what it is. And so in this season right now, I have to believe that every good thing comes from God.
Yeah, we've said this a bunch on the show, but you have to get yourself to the place where you realize that God has your best interest at heart. Mm-hmm. Like if you can get to that place, then the good, the bad, he can take the bad and he can use it to grow your character. He can bring you good in ways that you never really even thought of, but he knows better than you know. Mm-hmm. And that's maybe where we get hung up. It's because we think we know and that there's no other way for it to work out than this way that I have conceived. Mm-hmm. And yet God can bring good from all kinds of places. And you can see where we're going with this, right? We're right in the middle of a pandemic. Mm-hmm. And people are wondering, how is good going to come out of this?
Right.
My neighbor who's got a restaurant, my other friend who the first week was the first wave of layoffs. Mm-hmm. You can see where they're going through it in a very real and meaningful way. Right? So then we get to this part, right? These are the verses you never want to give to somebody who just lost a loved one, but they're true. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who've been called according to his purpose. Okay, so if you have somebody going through something very difficult and you want to seem very insensitive, read them that verse.
Right. Well, it's one of the pastors I grew up under, he would say, read it before you need it. Like for the people who need to embrace that verse, like if you're not going through something, now's the time to get that into your bloodstream, because when you need it, you might believe it at that point. But if somebody brings it to you, you might punch them. If you're in the heat of the moment and somebody's like, well, we all know God's working these things together and you're going through something massive and major, that's not the time. A lot of times people are looking for, give me the verse that's going to get me out of this. Give me the verse that's going to, and truly the verse that's going to speak into it is like, that's one of the reasons why I think it's healthy to have just a discipline to being in scripture or being in church and learning these things when you don't need it and when you're not desperate, because then it'll be in you and you'll be able to walk through it a little bit differently if you actually have embraced that truth before the trial comes.
The verse right before this says that God hears us in wordless groans. And I think a wordless groan that I get to in this situation is, I cannot possibly see how anything good can happen through this.
Yeah.
So, God, you're going to have to figure it out. Now, looking forward, I have a hard time. Mm-hmm. Looking backwards, I could see it all over the place.
Right.
How that situation that was really hard grew and developed me into the person I am right. I'm guessing you have that same in your life, right, Steve? Steven?
I'll really mess with you. My family calls me Steve-O.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, and you go back to the video that you were talking about earlier that I made, because that's the thing that's getting me through this from a news perspective, is getting to see the other side and getting to see how people are showing up in this time. And it's really, really incredible if you open your eyes to it and you look around. I mean, it's great.
Okay, so we're ready. Tell us, give us. You're hitting the streets every week. You're looking for these stories. I'm guessing you're tired of hearing the gloom and doom, so you're looking for something positive. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think that's part of the story. I think how I know for sure NBC local has made that a priority too. We can't just do gloom and doom. We need to tell the complete picture, and part of the picture is how we're rebounding from this and how people are helping people and the things that are going on there. And so I've been fortunate enough to do a bunch of those stories. I mean, last week met up with a 16 or 17-year-old kid, junior in high school up in the North County, who started his own grocery delivery thing. I mean, there's companies that are doing that, right? That you pay money for them to do that. He's doing it for elderly neighbors with a bunch of his classmates for free. And he's going to the grocery store and they're sending him and so at the end, these older folks are so grateful that they're giving him tips. and they're giving them tips. And then then these kids are donating their tips to the COVID response fund.
Oh, wow.
And you're going, man, like, look at that kid.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's, a kid who has a relationship with Jesus or not, but I believe that that's God working through him.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. Wow.
I love that God works through people that aren't his
right.
Devout followers, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's fun to see.
Yeah. I think there is something inside of us that can recognize good and right when they see it. We do believe that it originates with that's how God created the world, right? So that we'll get those feelings when we see something good like that. But then again, if you're not a God-following person, then you just feel like God just took credit for everything good that ever happened to him. So,
as he should, yeah.
and I agree with that statement, but I can see how you could poke holes in that. Okay, give us another one. What else have you seen?
Well, and I did a story on it was again the seniors, and it was up in Escondido, and they were just feeling like they had been left behind, that they weren't getting the resources they needed. And I showed up at this senior complex, which I was looking around. I'm going, yeah, these people don't have a lot of money here. I can tell that you're seeing 75-year-old women hobble, walk 3 blocks to the store, but it takes them an hour to get there. And they don't have family or friends that are swinging by and looking out for them. And the story had sort of a broader deal there. But people, when I reported on that story at home, apparently were so touched by it that they started calling into our station saying, "Can I bring these people food? Can I do it?"
Yeah.
And I love that somebody at home in Chula Vista sees something on TV and takes the effort to pick up the phone and go call our assignment desk. Can I get the phone number of these people? I want to help them out. I mean, people just want to do stuff right now.
Wow. In moments like that, it feels like your job is a ministry job, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it can feel that way for sure. I just love getting dumped onto the front porches of people going through real life stuff. And I've frequently found myself on a couch in somebody's living room saying, why am I here and why are they talking to me at this stage of their story? I mean, whether it's grief or whatever it is, you go, man, like, this is weird that you and I are having this conversation right now.
Right. Okay, I was trying to let me see if I can find this. Okay, yeah, I'm going to read this to you, all right? Hey, Jack and Chad, awesome service. We really loved how all the unexpected places were filmed in different locations. You really oh gosh, I'm reading the wrong thing. We're gonna have to take this out. This is the wrong quote. Okay,
we're not taking it out.
No, we're not. People we're not taking it out.
People need to know.
So I'm just gonna quote it.
That's what happens when you get a bunch of fan mail.
Yeah.
So I don't get a bunch of fan mail. That's the problem. So Carly DeSager was telling us she works in a hospital and she has people who are taking care of them. She is in the emergency room.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I was talking to her husband, Jake, I said, when was the last time you got to kiss your wife? He says, oh, it's been like a week and a half. So they're really taking this very, very seriously. She's trying to do her job. But one of the things that she said was that they got 100 different cards from people saying, hey, great job. They're getting cookies delivered all the time. And she said she looked over at their wall, and half of them were from people from Canyon Springs. All right? So I'm on my scooter, and when I'm on my scooter, I can see people in our community and I'm dying to talk to somebody, anybody. Right? So as I'm riding my scooter, I see Larry Roop. You guys know Larry? Larry, he should be called Saint Larry, man. That guy, he is always looking out for how he can make a difference in the lives of people.
Right.
And I stopped, I talked to Larry, and I said, hey, how are you doing? And he says, I'm doing good. I started to rally some people to write notes to people who are, working in hospitals and what have you. And Carly tells the one story. And it's Larry. Larry is the guy who's getting all of these people to write notes to that hospital because he's looking for some way to make a difference.
Right.
Just love moments where you can take something like this and God does something great. Okay, let's see if we can rally after me reading the wrong text. Do you have any other stories like that? Or Jonathan, have you heard of anything?
I feel like I haven't enough. I mean, I feel like
that's why we have Steve.
I know. I love the fact that you're kind of out and about, because I think the majority of people are just kind of like, I don't know what to do. They told me the way I'm going to save the world is sit at home. And that's so I know the people that I've talked to are just kind of itching to get out, and some people, the people who are being proactive, it's great to know that there's opportunity to get out there and just be around people and help people out.
Well, and I mean, I'll get these ideas in my head, and I feel like it's God talking to me, and then I don't immediately act on it.
Yeah.
And then it disappears for a while, right? I love the people who when they get the idea, they act right away, because I think that's where it's where it's fresh, and that's where you gotta do it, right?
Right. Well, and I do even think, because I feel like I had some ideas and I didn't run with them in the beginning, and I do feel like that was maybe the greatest opportunity was when there was all the unknown. Now it's like the fear has subsided quite a bit, and so now people are just like, just let me go back to work or do something. I'll do anything. But in the beginning, there were people who were stepping out when everything was scary, and then they were jumping in and really trying to serve and better their community and help people in need.
The only thing I want to say in that space is I get that. I love that. Those people are great. Yeah. Those people are better than me. All right? They're better. But some people might be listening and go, well, I just was so sad.
Yeah.
I was grieving. I was depressed. You know what? It's okay to be in that space.
Yeah.
I've said that maybe more than anything else with people is be okay with grieving that space in your life.
Right.
Because in some ways you are experiencing that loss, right? But when somebody does step up, it's great. Are there some creative ways that people are honoring other people that you're seeing, Steve, in this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's interesting when you look at people that have different gifts, and we're built different ways, and we have our personalities are all over the place, right? And so we can't, to your point just a second ago, we all can't be this one way.
Right.
I mean, that wouldn't be being authentic to who you are and using your gifts. I think it's fun to see the guy that I think he was in the video, just having the conversation with the professor over at the engineering department at San Diego State University, who figured out a way to make low budget ventilators.
Right.
He was saying like $200, and that they might work. Now, that was at a time when there was a worry about a ventilator shortage. We haven't heard as much about that in the news. I don't know that came to fruition and that his ventilator idea ended up saving thousands of lives. But in the middle of it, he said, let's do it. And I think that, I don't know, I just think these ideas that we get seem crazy, and a lot of times we go, somebody else can do it. Why me? Whatever. But I don't know. I just really, really appreciate it when I see people going out there and doing it, not knowing if it will make a difference, but like, hey, I'm gonna go for it, right?
Right.
I'm just gonna do it.
Yeah, there's part of us too that feels like, hey, if I can make a difference in a really big way,
yeah, I'll do it.
Then I'll do it.
Yeah,
and then people will.
If I can know the outcome and I know this will be worth my time and effort,
right?
But God's gonna work on you.
If
regardless.
we look in the history of our own lives, and the people that made the biggest difference in us, it was one at a time. It was one person, and that person, I'm guessing that person made the biggest influence on your life, wasn't a millionaire, wasn't an all-star in any kind of sport, didn't, star in a Hollywood movie. Those are the people we all aspire to be, but none of those people really make a difference in my life except for an hour and a half. Right. And there was a fun movie and I turned it off. If you can make a difference in the life of one person, so as you're going throughout your day and God puts something on your heart, just to do it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, who knows if it's going to make a big influence, small influence, whatever.
Yeah. Well, and it's a weird. I feel like the weird thing of this whole coronavirus is like, there's this weird tension of like the lazy person that you've always tried to not be has now become the hero. like sit at home and watch TV for a couple months and you'll save the world. Like that. There is that, and how many, and it does make me wonder, like how many introverts are like, sweet, this is my opportunity to save the world. I told you I could be a hero, because there is that tension of, there's the people who just can't do that, and they're the ones who are going to get. I'm going to make a ventilator. I'm not going to watch everything that's on Netflix. But truly, it's like my kids, man, if I'd let them, it'd be sun up to sun down playing video games. Like, it's crazy. That's
funny, because there are people that, I'm calling a lot of people from the church. And there are some people who go, oh, man, this is so hard, or I'm so over it. And there are other people that I call them and say, well, this is just kind of my normal life.
Right. Nothing's really changed.
Yeah, I don't really need that many people. I'm a scientist. And, I'm good.
Yeah. No, my son's an introvert, and he's loving the PJ pants, more so than he would. And he's pretty disciplined in doing stuff at the same time. But I asked him, I said, what percentage of you likes this more than real life? And he said, I'll take real life for sure, but, it's maybe 60% real life, maybe 40% this life.
Okay, so Steve, I'm going to ask you this question. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who've been called according to his purpose, all right? You've seen some of that in real time. Fast forward to 6 months. Let's say it's over.
Okay.
6 months, 9 months.
Yeah.
What would you predict the good is going to come out of this?
I would say that for a lot of people, connection with family. We've had a family Zoom on our side with extended family.
Right.
That's been a standing weekend thing. And it almost seems absurd to be getting together with these people that often.
Right.
Yeah. But it's been really great. I would say that I've really enjoyed the time with my 16-year-old, who's a junior in high school, who is home all the time. I used to come home and see her car, and if her car was near the driveway and she was home, I was like fist pumping. Yes, she's home. She's not off with her friends. I'm so excited.
Right.
And she's home all the time now.
Right.
Yeah. I've felt that same kind of thing. Like my son, I guess he's graduated. I don't know. They just shut school down, so I guess he just graduated. It's like kind of weird to try to figure this out, but it's like he's ambitious to go travel the world. That's what he wants to do. He wants to do missions, and he's got his sights set on all these places. And so we realized, like, and that's my family. Like, my brother moved out at 16. I moved out at 18. We tend to be that type that just goes away and figures life out and checks in every once in a while. So I feel like we've gotten this opportunity, this window of time where it's like we really get to enjoy each other, build relationship. I'm seeing it with him and his siblings in a way that probably wouldn't have happened. He would have graduated summer, like spent his last summer with all his buddies, and then would be off for probably a couple years. And so that I feel like that it's been this thing that's kind of brought some family into our family a little bit. Like, we've already had it, but it just, as they were starting to move and get that independence, it has pulled us back together maybe one last time in a way that will never be again.
Yeah.
Where we all get to be together. So I think that's part of, something that's happening.
Here's what I'm hoping happens in my life is I preach that you should only find your value in this relationship with God, and everything else should be separate from that.
Right.
And if you find your value in God, you'll always know that you're enough because you're his kid, man. You don't have to perform this way or do this or line up all these great good deeds for him to like you. He likes you. Yeah. And if you could live in that, we could all live in that, that'd be great. But I'm finding how much of my value I found in speaking in front of a group of people. Mm-hmm. I don't get to speak in front of a group of people. I'm just sitting here talking to Steve before we got started saying, how do you speak in front of just a camera, man? Because that's what I'm doing, and poorly.
Yeah. No, you're doing a good job. It's hard. I told you, man, it's hard. You don't have feedback from people. Yes. You're getting up there and having to do it for a half hour straight.
Yeah. Well, 20 minutes this week.
Yeah.
It's going to keep getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing now that as much as I've told people, hey, don't find it in your work.
Right.
I've found at least a part of me from my work.
Yeah.
Or from my speaking.
Yeah.
And I am having to lean on this relationship with God in a way that I've never had to do it before.
Right.
And it's led to a couple things. For one, I'm journaling more.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that in.
How much?
Yeah. Daily. I journal daily. Yeah. So take that, Steve. Oh. But I'm calling my counselor. Like I got another appointment with my counselor tomorrow to kind of work through some of those things. We interviewed a counselor last week. You and I did, Jonathan. Mm-hmm. And she said, it's not that all this is dredging up, like this is bringing new stuff into people's minds that our counseling officers are full.
Right.
He says that stuff's already there. And this season is bringing it out.
Yeah.
Is this the time of your life in which you need to work on some of that stuff that this season is dredging out? And if you could get to the end of this, and let's say that fear, that low-lying fear that you had, that you weren't ever quite secure enough, that God could remove that and realize you just have to lean on me. If you got through that 6 months, and those worries that you always had, you didn't have to carry anymore because God took you even through this.
Right.
Wow, what a life-changing moment that would be, right?
Yeah, I think that's the main pastor message I've heard is maybe we don't want to go back to what was normal.
Right.
Like that's been the number one theme. That was Chad's message this week pretty much is maybe what the previous normal was. Maybe we can wreck that a little bit. Maybe we can make it better. Like, and I kind of want, like, I've actually thought in terms of like social media and things like that. And we're doing life through screens right now more than ever before. And I kind of wonder if we're not going to get to the other side of this and be like, I just want to, like, even kids, I just want to play outside with my friends. I just want to do, like, all this stuff that we couldn't do. Like, so, you know, I know we've talked about kind of the worry of, like, what if we just get so addicted to screens that we just stay on screens forever? I don't think that's going to happen. I think everybody's like, I don't want to look at another phone, another computer screen, another Netflix show, and maybe it'll create something where we actually do real life again.
Yeah. Well, I've talked to friends and talked to people who have really been hit by this hard. Friends who've lost their job. I'm thinking of one in particular who says it feels like for his family this is a reset, and it's not easy. I mean, he wants a job. Yep. He wants, but in that he's sort of having this bigger, broader perspective of it feels like. And my wife and I were talking with he and his wife. And my wife and I are working maybe even harder right now through this season. It's been like a big grind because of our jobs, and we're grateful to be employed. But it hasn't necessarily been the reset for us that it has been for people who've experienced a shaking or a stripping away. Yeah. And I think that God really, really makes himself known when those spaces open up in our lives.
Right.
And I was just impressed that he was able to see that. And I think that I would just hope that for people who are experiencing loss or depression or any of these other things that they would maybe take what you said in that verse serious enough to just give it 5 minutes to let their groans out and see how God answers.
Yeah. I think this is kind of how I want us to land this, all right? To maybe challenge each person to say to God, bring whatever happens for my good and help me to see that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And if we can get to that place, I really believe we're going to find that God is worthy and that even the difficult time brought some great goodness in your life. Look, if you need us to pray for you, we're here, Jack at CanyonSprings.org, Jonathan at CanyonSprings.org. Just let us know. We'd be happy to lift you up. You got one parting shot, Steve?
We should have him read his verse.
Oh, yeah. Read your verse, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to finish with Steve's
the coronavirus verse that he found in the message.
I love this verse, man. I was reading it the other day. I'm like, and for whatever reason, I thought of you guys and I thought of Canyon Springs when I read this. And it's just a snippet out of Psalm 26. And this is the Message, so anyone who's familiar with the Message, it reads a little bit differently. But it's short. It says, I scrub my hands with purest soap, then join hands with the others in the great circle, dancing around your altar, God, singing God songs at the top of my lungs, telling God stories.
That's great.
Boom.
I love that.
Got to get some of that purest soap.
Yeah.
But I'm not holding your hand. Let's hope that that's where all of this ends.
Yeah.
Is in a great big circle celebrating the great things God did.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Thanks for joining us for these last 10 steps. If you'd like to join us for another journey, or if you know someone else who's on this walk, subscribe to our podcast at 10 Steps Further on iTunes, or simply search 10 Steps Further on your podcast app. And if you'd like to be part of the conversation with a question or a comment or a criticism or even a wisecrack, look us up on Facebook. We've created a Facebook group where you can be part of the conversation. We'll see you next time.